All right, students, Chapter 17 deals with the years and the events directly leading straight up to the Civil War. It's a little bit intense, and so I'm probably going to break most of these screencasts down into two parts. Okay, so there's obviously the political conflict over slavery. My little map is outside the boundaries of where you need to see it up there in the corner, which is okay because you will have seen it in class, and it's not that exciting anyway. But this had been a conflict since the very beginning of um, the country. It had started back with the formation of the country when people were arguing over whether to have slave states or free states, and then it continued on up until the time of the Civil War. And the very first compromise was the Three-Fifths Compromise, and then they also decided that they would not allow any more importation of slaves after the year 1808. In exchange for that, the Southern states were going to ratify the Constitution, and that was the bargain that was made, the very first bargain that was made over slavery. But when we have new territory, we got new debate over slavery, and we talked about this when we talked about the Mexican-American War. Polk's election brought more discord because he was from Tennessee, and that's obviously a slaveholding state. He was a Democrat. Now, did he initiate war with Mexico in order to further slavery? It's possible. But remember, he did campaign on Manifest Destiny, and so we've talked about this numerous times in class. I personally don't believe that furthering slavery was at the top of his list. Was it maybe an added benefit? Probably, but I'm not sure that was the thing that was at the forefront of his thinking on the Mexican-American War and on Manifest Destiny as a whole. All right, but we did gain all of the Mexican cession with the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, and so now it had to be decided, something had to be decided about what to do with that territory as far as slave and free. We're going to keep on with the Compromise of 1820, the Missouri Compromise, or are we going to do something new and different? All right, so this man, David Wilmot, and of course his name is in red, so you need to know it, offered up the Wilmot Proviso. And in the Wilmot Proviso, it said that there was not going to be any slavery in the area gained from the Mexican cession, and he was hoping to put everybody's mind at rest over this with his proviso. This was not something that got passed because the Southerners in Congress and in the Senate threw a fit over this, if you can imagine. So it didn't get anywhere. But you have to understand that this is one of the compromises that you're going to be responsible for, to know what the objective was, to keep slavery out of the Mexican cession area. It didn't work. It wasn't passed. All right, now we're going to have a presidential election, though. And it was kind of a disappointment for people on both sides because neither of these candidates, Zachary Taylor, well, we have several candidates running, so let me back up. Okay. So the Whigs picked Zachary Taylor. Now, he's a war hero, and that's good on their part, smart thinking. He's a household name. So people are familiar with him, and he's popular. The Democrats, Polk's party, picked someone named Lewis Cass. There's a reason his name means nothing to you, and you don't have to remember his name for any reason. And neither of these two people were going to approach the subject of slavery. Both of them refused to deal with it. And a lot of people were frustrated with that, as you can imagine. People in the country, it's 1848. We're 12 years out from the Civil War, so you can imagine feelings are running high about this thing. And people are like, oh, help, you're our leaders. We're expecting you to do something or say something of value about this thing. Okay, so there were some people who were disgusted with both of these choices, and these were folks mostly who were passionate against slavery, and they formed something called the Free Soil Party. You are going to have to know about the Free Soil Party, so please plug this into your computer brains. Now, these Free Soilers chose President Martin Van Buren as their candidate. If you remember, Martin Van Buren was Andrew Jackson's vice president, who was elected after Jackson. People elected him because they wanted more Jackson but couldn't have more Jackson. So understand that he wasn't reelected, if you remember. He wasn't reelected because people blamed him for economic problems in the country. So I'm not sure at the political savvy of the Free Soilers. Van Buren is obviously a household name. He's not anybody that people have to become familiar with. But on the other hand, he wasn't reelected once already. So why you would go to him thinking that he would be elected would be a question in my mind. Okay, I'm going to stop with this, Frank, because now we're going to talk about California becoming a state. So I'm going to stop here, and I know that's a really short screencast, but it's better to have two short ones than one giant, huge, long one.